Okay, so welcome. This is the next question for OCR's AS Economics video. This is June 2014. Okay, so question 3 is a little bit more difficult, okay, than 1 and 2. And it's looking at specialisation. Now, you should be able to, in this stage, be able to say, okay, well, specialisation is, the breaking down, it's basically a division of labour, breaking down one task into many smaller tasks. And we have to apply it to the situation of airfix. Okay, when my class did this as a mock last year, it was very easily, people made mistakes on it, okay? Because, yes, you have to obviously apply it to airfix. You not only have to explain what the potential advantage or disadvantage of it is, but you also have to apply it to airfix. Okay, now there's another, if you obviously look on the mark scheme online, the one that I'm going to talk about first is, it's actually towards the end of advantages. It said economies of scale, see guidance, okay? Now, obviously we've got to relate this to specialisation in airfix. Now, airfix obviously faced with higher and higher costs, okay? And basically, when they move to China, obviously they're hoping them costs will reduce, especially in wages. It's the main issue with this, okay? And obviously, specialisation allows them, actually, that's irrelevant moving to China, sorry. When they specialise in producing these kits, obviously that just means one person will produce the wings of a model plane, the other will produce the actual, the wheels of it, one will produce the main bulk of it, okay? I'm not really good with planes, as you can tell. Much better with cars. Anyway, so what we've got to do is, as I said, apply an advantage of specialisation to airfix. Now, as I said, the first one there was mentioned about lower costs. And now specifically, it's obviously depending on how far you are with your economics course in terms of if you're only a first year if you're a first year student or if you're a second year student like myself, it depends how you're going to understand it. Now, for the benefit of everyone, I'm just going to explain the first one that I think, well, it's an A2 advantage, but it's still accepted. Economies of scale. Now, economies of scale, for those of you that are not in A2, okay, economies of scale is just about, you may have heard it, so purchasing economies of scale. It's probably the main one where you buy a bigger bulk of something and you get each one cheaper. Okay, that's pretty much what economies of scale is. But obviously, you're going to look at A2 about your longer and average costs. Okay, so your average cost over just a greater period of time. Because obviously, you're not going to buy in all of it overnight and use it all overnight. That's why obviously it's in the long run. Okay, so basically you talk about longer and average costs. Okay, if you're able to produce more, because of specialisation, then you will buy more in. Okay, so this is the first advantage, sorry. If you're able to specialise in something, you're able to produce more units more quickly, okay, which means you'd be able to buy more stock, okay, and if you're able to buy more stock, you obviously buy a bigger quantity, so you get purchasing economies of scale, which is all about, obviously, as I said, lowering your average unit costs. So that's a possible advantage. Another one you could have talked about, kind of from that, is lower labour unit costs. Assuming everyone's getting paid the same wage or salary or whatever, okay, a specialisation just means each worker is now more productive. Okay, so if they're more productive, lower costs, and you could link it into economies of scale in terms of technical. Okay, but really, as I said, there's nothing too much on that. So that's really one advantage. As I said, there's other ones on there, and you would just apply that, as I said, to the airfix, okay, which we talked about, them facing higher costs, okay, so it would be quite beneficial for them to have lower, longer and average costs across the board, okay. So therefore, the first point of question 3 is all about economies of scale, and really, as I said, you would talk about economies of scale. You would talk about the purchasing, okay. Purchasing due to increased output. you may have heard that as bulk buying, okay, mean exactly the same thing. Alright, so obviously you would get a few more marks for doing that. Okay, so obviously it's only asked for one advantage and one disadvantage. That was a potential advantage, okay. Potential disadvantage, well, obviously, if the worker is doing the same task over and over and over again, because the increased output, everyone needs to be doing the same thing, so they're not varying all the time. Okay, you could go, well, that's an advantage, but the boredom potentially is a disadvantage. They get bored. Is it going to become demotivated? Are they going to become demotivated, kind of thing? And you could link it back into the economies of scale. You will, okay, maybe they have an increased output. But if the border is that likely to be of good quality, you could kind of question that. And then, obviously, because we're relating it to Airfix, you would therefore say, well, maybe that would affect the quality of Airfix's products, okay? And obviously, the technical innovations in recent years would obviously be pushed back. And you could argue about that, okay? So that is essentially what question 3 is asking about. But one of the things it mentions is, do not get credit answers which relate to finite resources in general. Okay, so if you talked about sort of, obviously specialisation is all about making better use of the available resources that an economy has, because obviously you can't increase that. The non-renewable resources is more of what I'm talking about. So if you mentioned that as a potential advantage, but not related it to Airfix, or actually, not if you mentioned it at all, even if you try to relate it to Airfix, then the mark scheme says that you would not be allowed any credit. So if you mention an advantage, which obviously represented some kind of improvement within the, in the use of the factors of production, then obviously you would not be allowed credit for that mark because you've not related it to Airfix. Okay, so any advantage you came up with or disadvantage, you should have related it to Airfix to get the other mark. Okay, so 2 marks for an advantage, 1 for mentioning it and the other for relating it to Airfix's problem somehow. Okay, mainly that was related to the increase in costs. Okay, and you would argue it both ways, as I said. With my advantage, I chose obviously economies of scale, which is obviously purchasing economies. Now you could, as I said, you could have mentioned technical economies of scale, but which would be through greater use of capital, because more people are producing more output. Okay, so greater use of capital. But as I said, that's totally up to you. Right, so that's the end of question 3. If there's any more to question 3, is there? We're going to, in the next question, just going to start off fairly easy, and then we're going to sort of go into it in a little bit more detail. As I said, nothing too difficult so far in this. What was it? Definitely, sorry, I'm just double checking there's no other part to question 3. Yeah, definitely isn't. Okay, so that's the end of question 3. Sorry, I've kind of been over there a little bit, but just wanted to, it's a case really, you just read off the mark scheme for question 3, and it's just a case about relating it to Airfix, okay? That's the only thing that I tried to explain for you. Okay, but anyway, thanks for watching. As I said, there's a whole list on the internet, but hopefully we'll see you in the next question. I'll be a bit more involved in that one.